Hello everyone! I am Alice of KHR Arts and Cloud Orchid Publishing, and today I want to talk to y'all about a particular pet peeve of mine, and that is that indie bookshops can be rather elitist. Now, I do want to preface this with that not all indie bookshops are elitist. There are plenty of them that are delightful and wonderful and so supportive of indie local authors. And oh my goodness, are those absolutely meccas for authors and readers alike. And please go out and support your local library and your local indie bookshops because they need all the support that they can get. However, unfortunately, it has been my misfortune to deal with some indie bookstores that are incredibly elitist and really left a bad taste in my mouth. Why exactly am I bringing this up? It is because of a worrying trend that began earlier this year and has just progressed throughout the year. So earlier this year, we had the Amazon boycotts that started in April of this year, 2025, and there have been subsequent Amazon boycott days and weeks after that for periods of time. And unfortunately, these particular boycotts hit authors the hardest and really didn't hurt Amazon at all, especially because unfortunately a lot of people did not really take these boycotts seriously and they just loaded up their carts before and after the official blackout dates for these boycotts, which is not really how a boycott works. So people were still buying all of the stuff, which is where Amazon makes their money, and not buying authors' books. And in fact, one of the most problematic things about these Amazon boycotts were people on Book Talk and Bookstagram actively telling people how to pirate authors' books. A very knock that shit off, okay, from literally everybody. Do not pirate authors' books. That is not the workaround that you think it is. You're only hurting the authors. You're not hurting Amazon. Don't do that shit. Plenty of us have books available at our local libraries that you can check out, or we have other ways that you can read the books without having to go through Amazon. Do not pirate our books. PSA over. So during all of this, one of the things that readers I can't even use the word suggested, demanded of authors, that if we're real authors and we actually care about our books, that their magical solution was that we should pull all of our books from Amazon and only have them available in local indie bookstores. Problem number one with this. I'm sorry, but Amazon is the behemoth that it is for a reason. And at the end of the day, authors are going to still see better book sales on Amazon than they are anywhere else, period, end of sentence. You are going to get far more book sales on Amazon than you are on any other website, bookstores, at indie bookshops, at events, at conventions, whatever. You are still going to get the most book sales on Amazon. And the reason why is because it has the largest available audience. Now, having reach to that audience is a completely separate problem, one that I have been working on this year with how do Amazon ads work? How do you actually reach people via Amazon in Amazon to be able to get your stuff actually in front of people's faces? That is a whole separate problem. But the fact of the matter is you are always going to have the largest available audience on Amazon. Now, more people can find more success at different specific things, but a lot of that has to do with a lot of hard work with branding, with marketing, with building your network, with building your fan base. And that doesn't have to do with the actual place that your books are being housed. The second problem with that is indie bookshops are not a solution for everyone. Unfortunately, indie bookshops are a thing that are really only prevalent in larger cities. You're really not going to see indie bookshops in smaller towns, rural areas, things like that. They're going to be really rare in those other sorts of areas. And even in major cities, it can be hard to know where to look. You might not necessarily have as many as you would think in your large city, or maybe they're not very accessible to you. So not everybody has the luxury of having a local indie bookshop to go to. Location, location, location. The third problem is even if you are lucky enough to have a local indie bookshop or even more than one indie bookshop, is that a lot of them are genre specific. Even if they don't necessarily advertise it, a lot of them are. And if you are not in the genre that they're looking for, they are not going to stock your book. So one of the very common indie bookshops out there is the sci-fi and military fiction genre of bookshop. They will not accept romance. They will not accept fantasy. They will not accept mainly books by femme authors. Unfortunately, it is a thing. I'm sorry, it is. It is. I've seen it with my own eyeballs, y'all. I've been there. It is a thing. And those are some of the most common ones. So that's already, even if you have access to indie bookshops, those are a whole bunch of bookshops that, unless you specifically write those things and you're not a femme person, off the list, not available to you. Then there are the ones where they are maybe specifically a fantasy or a romantasy or a romance or, whatever the genre is that you're in. Awesome. Perfect. Cool. However, unfortunately, across the board, no matter what genre the bookshop specializes in, a lot of them have very elitist attitudes. So if you are a new author, or if you're an author that's not very well known, or if it's simply the person that owns the bookshop has personally never heard of you, they might say no to you and your books because you're not good enough in their eyes. And that's what happened to me. So at the beginning of my career as an author, when I got my first book, Love of the Sea, published, one of the things that everybody told me was you need to make sure that you also get your book into your local indie bookshops. And since I live in Chicago, we have indie bookshops aplenty, y'all. So many. Mind you, this was also back in 2018. I'm sure that things have probably changed in the past 7 years, but because I had such bad experience, I haven't really made the effort again. So, maybe that is a thing that I need to do, but also I have an endless to-do list and, having more things to do is the last thing that I need. But my experience with my first novel back in 2018 was I made a list of local indie bookshops in my area, and I walked my happy ass to those bookshops with my book in hand so they could physically see it and they could look at it. And y'all, the amount of disdain and just condescension that I experienced. I need to give y'all the full effect here, okay? At the absolute worst one that I went to, this was literally my experience. And forgive me, I have my contacts in and my glasses on, so I can't see properly. So this is gonna be a little special, but oh, I'm sorry. We only take literature here. Like, they even did the whole putting their glasses on their nose thing and looking down at me and everything, handing my book back to me as if they were handing me a dog turd. Jesus Christ, the amount of, I only read literature that I've heard. Yeah, it's real and it's gross. But yeah, that was my experience with all of the indie bookshops that I went to with my new book, being a new author, very excited in varying degrees. But all of it was pretty much that, was just looking at me like, how dare you bring your disgusting indie book into our reputable literature bookshop? So even if it's a bookshop that fits the genres that you have, they could just deem you unworthy. And that does happen a lot. And I've seen other authors talk about that too, that they also, not just back when I tried to do it back in 2018, but like today, like this year, tried to get their books into indie bookshops and were turned away because they, excuse me, we only have literature here. That whole nonsense. Other people have experienced that too. And it sucks. And so telling authors that they need to pull all their books off of Amazon and have to put them in local indie bookstores is not the solution that you think it is, my child. It's really, really not. And of course, this is coming from people that are not in the industry. These are coming from people who are readers, people who participate in Bookstagram and Book Talk, who participate in book trends. They are not authors. They're not people in the publishing industry. They don't know what they're talking about. But they They speak with such authority, and on top of it also like shame authors and even say that we should boycott all authors that don't have their books in indie bookstores, and that is horseshit. Absolute horseshit. And I hope that any of y'all that have wrote that online see this video. And a bit of it is, yes, I hope you do feel chastised by this to a certain degree. I hope you do, because it was a very not nice thing to say those things online and make authors feel bad. Shame on you for making authors feel bad. But more importantly, I hope that this video helps you learn and see why that's not the solution that you think it is. In a perfect world, y'all, in a perfect world, authors would absolutely love to have all their books on shelves in libraries and on shelves in indie bookshops, and to see readers in cute little cafes with their cute little lattes, you know, with the fun designs on them, you know, reading their book. And it's, you know, an indie book in an indie coffee bookshop. That is our dream. That is the dream, y'all. And in a perfect world, that would be everywhere, all of the people, all of the time, and we would love that. But we live in reality. And at the end of the day, authors have bills to pay. And we have to do what is going to get our books out there and what is going to get our bills paid. And unfortunately, that means sometimes doing things that are not the ideal or doing things we don't like. Now, if you have found other options that work for you, more power to you. Amazing. Wonderful. Keep doing it. And to all of the indie bookshops out there that are watching this video in absolute horror, obviously we're not talking about you here, babes. Like, if you are like super welcoming and like looking for indie authors in your area, like, round of applause for you, gold star. This video is not about you. But for those of y'all that are feeling a little shame right now, well, Cinderella if the shoe fits. I hope you learned something. So please listen to authors when we tell you that the solution that you're suggesting is not a real solution. Or please, when we tell you, I'm sorry, but this is the reality of being an author, and if you really want to help, we need you to do A, B, and C. Please consider doing A, B, and C. Or DM an author. Honestly, if you feel very strongly about the ways and things of how you think authors should be selling their books. Now, don't be like mansplaining at authors in their DMs how to sell their books. Do not do that. What I'm saying is be like, hey, I really like your books. I really want to buy your books, but I don't want to buy them on Amazon. Do you have any other options where I can get your books where I don't have to support Amazon? How can I support you as an author? That is the correct way to go about this. Shaming authors and living in la la land, not reality, is just not it. We all want the same thing, y'all. We really, really do. And all the infighting is not going to help us get any of the things that we want. So I hope y'all found this video helpful. If you did, please be sure to give it a like. And if you're new, subscribe. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye-bye.